Lockdown wasn't that bad for me. Honestly, lockdown wasn't that bad for me because I was doing music, I was learning about history, I was reading books, I was watching documentaries. I was able to fill up my time very, very easily because I was already doing all those things.
Mhm.
I think the thing about embarrassing memories is you push them down.
Akshay, so tell me, what are the three things that you are good at?
My thing is has always been music.
Mhm.
Whenever I kind of have a moment, if I'm feeling down, anything like that, I always go to music.
Mhm.
I love TVs, I love movies, but music is kind of my thing.
Mhm.
But I think it's generally useful to have something like that, a separate skill, other than just what your bread and butter is, what your technical skills are, what you use for work. Thank you, Ayush. That means I get half of whatever you earn from this, right?
Well, hello and welcome. Azuko Ditra. It's the 21st of February 2022. My name is Ayush Manandar, and you're listening to 10 Questions with, where we talk about the preferences, past, and perspectives of the people I know and admire. र त्यसै सिलसिलामा आज हुनुहुन्छ 10 Questions with Ma Akshay Pandey. Now, Akshay is actually someone I've known since the second grade. He is officially my longest friend. Currently, he's living in the US, working as a software engineer. He's a big Liverpool fan. And a fun fact about this whole show is that the idea of 10 Questions with actually started after a conversation with Akshay. Taybera, I'm very, very excited to have Akshay Pandey here with us. Welcome, Akshay, to 10 Questions with.
Thank you, Ayush. That means I get half of whatever you earn from this, right?
Also, for now, half of the costs as well.
Okay, then.
So eventually, if there is some earnings there, yeah, I'll share half.
Hey, I walked into that one, so I guess I have to accept.
Not really. But anyways, it's very excited to have you here. Excited to get your perspective on. But before that, के भइरहेछ? कस्तो छ? What's the life updates? कस्तो moodमा छस् and everything.
It's all good, man. So yeah, like you said, I've been living in the US for a while, but right now, as
Mhm,
we're recording this, I am visiting Nepal. Visiting Nepal for a couple of months. It's
mhm,
really good to be back home. It's as far as Kathmandu goes, we all probably know how it is. It gets cold, it gets dry and dusty.
mhm,
Um, which again, I'm not complaining. I'm used to all of that. It actually rained yesterday after a long time, which was really, really
mhm,
nice.
mhm,
It's always nice to kind of drift off to sleep when it's kind of,
mhm,
a little bit of a drizzle outside. So it's actually kind of nice today.
mhm,
I'm probably gonna go out for a walk in a bit. Some of the locations near us where we grew up
mhm,
have been kind of made up since the last time I've been here.
mhm,
Especially places like Kamal Pokhari, lovely little park. So I'm
mhm,
planning on going for a little walk around the block after
mhm.
this. So pretty nice, pretty nice.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice time of the year, Kathmandu spring, when it's just starting off spring, sunny, and yeah, very nice to be in
Yeah,
Kathmandu at this point.
absolutely.
Mhm. And well, the show is 10 questions with, as you already know. And for those who are listening, five questions I've already sent to Akshay beforehand. मैले अगाडि नै पठाइसकेँ, and hopefully he has had time to look at them and reflect. र अरू पाँचवटा question चाहिँ हामी अक्षयलाई on the spot सोध्नेवाला छौँ. So that might get some like impromptu answers as well. And before we begin, Akshay, कस्तो लागिरहेछ त?
For this question, for
Not
this
the whole
show,
segment. Yeah, whole segment.
I'm nervous, man. I'm very, very nervous. Feels
Hmm.
like I'm going to talk to some kind of, I don't know, like a job opening or something. And
Yeah.
and this is going to be very important for my future. So
No, it is very important. But no, the thing is, it's your show. It's 10 questions with Akshay Pandey. There's nothing to be nervous about. There's no right or wrong answers. We just talk and get some life perspectives from your side.
okay.
That's the goal. Aita. So,
Alrighty.
let, so let's start off with the first question. Aita. And the first question, we start off very light on 10 questions with. And the first question is, what's your go-to TV series, movie, or music that you know kind of gets you up when you're feeling down, or that comfort, or is a source of comfort for you?
Well, yeah, that's a pretty broad question.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, I'm sure you'd want one of each kind of thing, but I'm just gonna go off of, you know, you know me. My thing is has always been music.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I kind of have a moment, if I'm feeling down, anything like that, I always go to music.
Mm-hmm.
I love TVs, I love movies, but music is kind of my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know me pretty well. My biggest musical influences have always been Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Even now, since probably class six is when I started really listening to them. Even now, I find their music to be the thing that fits almost all of my moods.
Mm-hmm.
Californication is always a favorite song. It was one of the first or second songs I learned on the guitar when I
Mm-hmm.
when I was starting to teach myself guitar. um, their albums are probably like four or five of their albums are in my top 10 albums of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Californication, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Stadium Arcadium. And then as far as my favorite songs go, Other Side by Red Hot
Mm-hmm.
Chili Peppers, again from Californication, 1999. One of my favorite songs ever, Snow
Mm-hmm.
Hey Oh from 2006. That was huge when we were in school. I remember everyone
Everybody
loving that
playing it,
song,
yeah.
everyone playing it. It's one of the toughest songs to play as well.
Uh-huh.
Even now, I can kind of play that song, but not fully. I'll always have like a moment where my
Mm-hmm.
fingers start going. So yeah, they kind of are always one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot not mention the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
Major influence on, as I started growing older, I started getting more and more into not just playing guitar,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit of singing, a little bit of songwriting,
Mm-hmm.
the way of crafting a song. Beatles is an easy answer for a lot of people to say, who do you like? They're popular for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start looking deeper,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much to study
Mm-hmm.
from what the Beatles have written. Albums like Rubber Soul, the White Album,
Mm-hmm.
their famous double album, Abbey Road. Amazing, amazing things, and I find myself listening to them so many times. And these aren't new albums. These are albums that
Mm-hmm.
so many people have talked about, so many people have been influenced by. So you would think that there's nothing really new you can get out of them, but even now, whenever I'm listening to something from the Beatles, I always tend to find something new,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of understand how they write a song, and no one does it like them. um,
Mm-hmm.
they're really just up there. As far as movies go, you know, I love movies. I love watching movies. If I was to say a series that I've come back to a lot, it would probably have to be Star Wars, especially the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've probably rewatched those old Star Wars movies so many times. And Star Wars is such a huge media. There's Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
TV shows now. There's Star Wars cartoons. There's Star Wars video games.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably watched and consumed so much of that media. But yeah, the original Star Wars trilogy is fantastic. Toy Story, something else that's really close to my heart. I don't
Mm-hmm.
probably rewatch it as many times, but I remember Toy Story 3 being one of the movies that made me so emotional.
Yeah.
Especially the story of Andy going to
Growing up,
college.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I watched it in 2012, which was right after I finished high school here,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting ready to go to college. I was getting all my
Mm-hmm.
paperwork ready, and that hit me so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie was, I haven't had that feeling watching any other movie, and it's not a bad feeling. It's nostalgia, it's happiness, it's sadness. It was everything
Mm-hmm.
together. Such a fantastic movie. Um, I love anything from dramas to thrillers to comedies. Dumb and Dumber,
Mm-hmm.
another movie that comes to mind. My brother and I, when we were in school, every day after school, we used to come back. We had an old DVD. We had four
Mm-hmm.
or five favorite scenes. We would
Mm-hmm.
always watch those four or five favorite scenes and laugh our asses off each
Mm-hmm.
and every time. So I have to mention that. And then, yeah, TV shows. Probably the classics would be Friends, Seinfeld, South Park,
Mm-hmm.
all of those kinds of things. I generally tend to ask people like you to give me recommendations about TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably just watch whatever is like popular at the time, or some documentary
Mm-hmm.
about history and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I, if I need a pick me up or something, that's kind of where I go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, coming back to RHCP, I remember, Tony, Give It Away when you were in your Give It
Yes.
Away phase. I remember that very much. And you're telling me that you know how they shot this. It looks black and white, but it's actually very, very. They're covered in gold. And
Yep.
and for a long time, I didn't Give It Away. I just didn't get the song. I didn't know. Actually, came on para wala yo, hai na? But as I grew up, I kind of hear the mastery in it, and it's so cool. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, the first time I heard "Give It Away" was in class six, and I think I've told you this story, but I'll just go over it briefly.
Hmm.
I love this is one of my favorite stories, especially kind of for my musical start of my musical
Hmm.
journey. Class six, we're listening to kind of the pop music of the day,
Hmm.
and for our day, it was like Black Eyed Peas,
Hmm.
and things like that, and
Green Day.
Green Day, of course. We all love Green Day. There's a couple of others that are kind of escaping my mind. Linkin Park.
Hmm.
Linkin Park was also huge. But Red Hot Chili Peppers, I hadn't really heard of before that properly before Give It Away happened.
Hmm.
I was watching VH1. The show was Rock the 90s. It
Uh,
was just like a top 10 of like the popular songs of the decade. And I'm sure there were songs like Zombie or like Smells Like Teen Spirit and all those
hmm.
kinds of songs, and they were all great. But there was something about Give It Away. It came on, and I was just transfixed. I was looking at the TV. I was like, "This is a wild music video for anyone who
Hmm.
hasn't watched it. I recommend watching it. It's really strange." And I just watched it, and I was like, in class six, I was like, "What is this?"
Hmm.
But then I found myself thinking, "Oh, I need to watch it again." I remember writing it down. I remember writing it down, like the name of the
Watch
artist, the
Give It
name of the
Away
song.
again.
Yes, and I looked at the TV to see when this show was on rerun again. It was
Uh,
later on that night after my bedtime.
uh,
So I asked my parents to say like, can I stay awake this one night just to watch this one show?
uh,
And I watched it again,
uh.
and after that I was hooked. After that I
Yeah.
was really hooked. So yeah, that was a good start.
You put a lot of effort into it, and obviously you would be hooked.
Yes, yeah.
And the meaning of the song is also give it away. I mean, you don't get it when you hear it, but okay, so that's what it is about.
You know what? A lot of people make kind of fun of Red Hot Chili Peppers and the lyrics. A lot of the
Hmm.
lyrics don't really make sense a lot of the times.
Hmm.
That being said, there's a few nuggets of truth or like good nuggets of wisdom in their lyrics, and "Give It Away" is a great song, just
Hmm.
for that like sentiment.
Hmm.
But man, what a song! What a song!
What a song. And yep, I think you got me hooked on RHCP as well. I'm very thankful for that. And eventually, I think Beatles also, I think it started to listen because of you, because you brought it up so many times. And for me, it was like, oh, a few great songs, few hits that we've always listened to. And this was the time I really went into the discography. I probably haven't listened to all of their songs, but still went much more deeper, I think, because on your recommendation. So thank for that.
Absolutely, absolutely, man.
Okay, moving on to the second question. What's the one thing that really gets on your nerves or annoys you?
Hmm. So this is another question I find pretty easy to answer because I've felt like this pretty much my whole life. It's a sense of willful ignorance, if you will. Um, and more particularly, I'm going to name a couple of subgroups of
Mm-hmm.
people, and anything to do with them I really am annoyed by.
Mm-hmm.
It's flat earthers and anti-vaxxers,
Mm-hmm.
and I think especially for our day and age those two things are very, very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking about both of those groups, we live in a time where there's so much data out there, so much
Mm-hmm.
you can find out on your own, so much you can research on your own.
Mm-hmm.
you know I find it very frustrating that these people still have a voice and have an unwillingness to kind of
Mm-hmm.
see what's out there. And if they have doubts, I understand that. I think it's actually pretty good to have a healthy dose of skepticism in most
Mm-hmm.
walks of life. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything you hear is correct. You have to go out there, do your own research and all those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But come on, with satellites today, with the amount of medical data available for us today, I do find those two subgroups very, very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally a satellite that I believe you can go on YouTube right now and search for it, and it's a live view of the Earth. You know, it,
And of
in
how
it,
flat it is.
it it's all of its global, and by global I mean literally being a globe
Uh,
in all of its global glory.
Glory.
So I don't understand that really.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think there's a in most cases there's really people wanting to go against the grain, being a
Mm-hmm.
contrarian,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I find that very, very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I really won't go into anti-vaxxers because again, it's so relevant for our day and age. And I think so much has been said.
Mm-hmm.
It's just difficult to reconcile, you know,
Mm-hmm.
those beliefs with all of the evidence in hand that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, anti-vaxxers, I'm not saying I'm an anti-vaxxer, but I can understand the fear or the doubt that goes into it, the rationale
100%,
behind it.
100%.
But yeah, as you said, you need to trust base your decisions on medical facts, and yeah, that's always there. But flat earthers, I find really, really like hard to believe or comprehend. How can people still doubt it? It's like a universally proven fact in terms of the sky is blue, the water is, transparent, clear water is transparent, and stuff like that.
It's strange too because this is something that's been proven
Hmm.
back in the day by Egyptian astronomers
Hmm.
with very arbitrary, very basic
Hmm.
instruments. I may not be explaining this fully accurately, but I believe early on, and I'm talking about 2,000, 3,000 years ago,
Hmm.
how they kind of came to this conclusion. Obviously, they would have had made some kind of assumptions based on what they're seeing and all those kinds of things. But a lot of old scientists, old astronomers, actually calculated the diameter of the Earth up to basically 1 or 2% accuracy to what we have today in terms of how precise our instruments are.
Hmm.
They would have poles dug on various cities throughout an old country, let's say Egypt and stuff like that, and they would make measurements on where the shadow would be
Hmm.
on midday each year.
Hmm.
So in one city, the shadow would be directly down
Hmm.
on the pole. In some cities, it would be slightly to the left,
Hmm.
slightly to the right. And they use those kinds of things to actually calculate, what the curvature would be
Hmm.
from this city to that in terms of the shadow being looking different like that.
Hmm.
So I think, even without all the instruments we have today, those kinds of things can be done. So anyway, I mean, there's a lot to be said for it,
Uh-huh.
and as you can see, I can talk about it on and on and on, but
Yeah, I
I
think I,
think
I think I should have you on a different show about different kind of things and stuff like that. But no, I
yeah,
mean, I mean,
yeah.
but last one question on this is that. But do you think the flat Earther theory or theory is to say U.S. based prominently? I mean, it's mostly in the U.S., right?
Yeah, I mean, you do have a point. It seems like all these societies kind of stem from the states.
Hmm.
There may be something to the fact that the states has this culture of kind of everyone gets given a voice.
Hmm.
The media is so powerful, and you kind of put a spotlight on fringe groups as well.
Hmm.
And especially in today's day and age, like a small fringe group can have their message resonate throughout the world.
Hmm.
It may have started in the states or somewhere western, we would call it. I
Hmm.
don't think I don't remember growing up hearing large groups where we are come up with the flat earth, like a flat earth society in Nepal or
Hmm.
anything like that. But I know that it's becoming more of a thing nowadays
Hmm.
throughout the world, which kind of makes me sad.
Hmm. Yeah, hopefully it will not lead to very drastic decisions. It's just some fantasy that people live in. Just the buksa.
Let's hope so.
All right, moving to the third question that we have for you today is Akshay. So tell me, what are the three things that you are good at?
Three things that I'm good at.
Hmm.
Um, I'd like to speak on things that are not necessarily attached to my professional life, but one of those I actually feel like I have to mention.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm good at Google searching.
Hmm.
This
As
is
I can
this
see.
is yeah, no. This is something I don't think a lot of people appreciate.
Hmm.
And until you become like a developer, and I'm not just saying developers only know this, but there's so much out there, so
Hmm.
many resources out there. There's so much information in your hands. A lot of people don't appreciate the fact that not all of that information is good information.
Mhm.
Some of your sources might be really, really bad, really biased. Some of them might just be straight up like terrible. Something else that I dislike, and this is more relevant to the time we're living in right now. Hopefully, in the future, this has changed again. YouTube took away dislikes,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of people don't like that because you can't really tell now if a video is good or not.
Mhm.
If it's got a million likes, people are going to assume it's a good video, whereas in the
Mhm.
past it may have had a million likes but then 2 million dislikes,
Mhm.
and that's what tells you what is correct about that video.
Mhm.
um, but again, I think it's Google searching is an art,
Mhm.
because you kind of need to know what you're searching for. You need to know the source you're reading is good or bad. How do you do that? There are citations, a source that actually quotes plenty of other sources, and those sources are good as well.
Mhm.
Is the article from a reputable website? Is the writer reputable?
Mhm.
um, have they given proper examples? If it's a technical thing, do they have a working example of what they are talking about? There's so many things that
Mhm.
shows what is a good source versus a bad source, or maybe just a kind of source that you don't know if you should take at face value.
Mhm. So Google searching, one thing.
Yeah, Google searching, one thing.
Mhm.
My knowledge with music, I would say, is something else that I'm pretty good at. I feel like that's been something for me since I was a kid. I've always been able to kind of fall back on a wealth of musical knowledge, and it's especially helpful because everyone has a different taste in music. I
Mhm.
find that something like this helps me connect with almost anyone.
Mhm.
If they give me a genre, an artist, anything, I will have some kind of knowledge I can fall back on for it. And
Mhm.
especially right now, I've kind of started making my own music,
Mhm.
at an amateur level. I've got some depth of knowledge on the recording process and all those kinds of things too. But I think it's generally useful to have something like that, a separate skill, other than just what your bread and butter is, what your technical skills are, what you use for work. And I definitely feel like music is something that pretty much defines who I am.
Mhm.
So I definitely count my musical knowledge as something that I would point to being something that I would describe myself as being good at.
Mhm.
um and through that way, another passion of mine, and another thing that I would consider myself pretty good at, is a decent knowledge of history. Again, these are things that I kind of everyone kind of spends their spare time these days. I know, I don't know, going to certain places, like traveling, doing whatever they like. The things that I like
Mhm.
are music and history and all that kind of stuff. Might
Mhm.
sound boring, but I can find myself really engaged where I am, looking at all these things over the internet. Lockdown wasn't that bad for me. Honestly, lockdown wasn't that bad for me because I
Mhm.
was doing music, I was learning about history, I was reading books, I was watching documentaries. I
Mhm.
was able to fill up my time very, very easily because I was already doing all those things.
Mhm.
And again, with history, that's another thing that I think has really helped me as I've grown up,
Mhm.
build perspective, trying to understand how people lived their life back in the day, how you can live your life today based on that. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes I feel people are very engaged with kind of their own problems in their own time, and of course they would be.
Mhm.
But I think just trying to understand, or even beginning to understand, kind of how people lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you start
Mhm.
appreciating that a lot of problems we have seem like modern problems, but they really aren't. Every
Mhm.
generation of people goes through the same things.
Mhm.
And I think that really helps people kind of, I found it helps me, but it gives you different ideas on how you can live life,
Mhm.
how you can solve problems, and all those kinds of things. Again, something that I'm good at, I could also maybe count some soccer skills. This was when I was younger, playing
Mhm.
five-a-side with you guys.
Mhm.
I would definitely not consider myself as good as you were or some of our other friends were, but
Mhm.
I would say these are kind of the things that I've always kind of spent my time within my passion.
Mhm.
So I would definitely consider myself at an adequate level with those things.
Mhm. But yeah, I think Donovan has just looking back into history and learning more about history. I think it's not something that we do often enough. I think at least I don't do often enough because I remember having this conversation with you back when I was in Nepal last year as well, and we were talking about the whole are we living in a simulation debate that we were kind of having a little bit, and you kind of said it very well. Is that every generation before us has had a way to explain the world around us through the instruments that they have at the time. Be it theology, be it religion, or be it science or whatever. And you just said that it's just the digital age, and that's how we are trying to explain our world as well. And that really hit home to me. I think sometimes I keep coming back to that thought that yeah, it's just a progression of perspectives that we are having, and some of them are just patterns that each generation have fallen into. And what we're doing is sometimes not new.
Absolutely. I think ultimately every generation asks the same fundamental questions.
Hmm.
What is this? Where are we? What's the
Hmm.
point of all of this? And each generation has a different set of knowledge that they can pull from to answer those questions.
Hmm.
Some people may consider that we are straying further and further from the truth. Some
Hmm.
other people might think we actually have instruments that are taking us closer and closer
Hmm.
to the truth. It's so difficult to answer precisely because no generation has been able to answer that precisely,
Hmm.
and to a certain degree I don't think any generation will be able to answer that fully.
True.
But I think it's important to kind of learn those things. You learn humility, you learn this idea of, not everyone is always correct, and that's okay.
Hmm.
um, it's a difficult topic for a lot of people. It's a difficult conclusion for a lot of people to come to, but I think it's
Hmm.
something we definitely miss in our
Hmm.
education, and I hope that changes some way in the future. I
Hmm.
don't know how it will change, but I hope it does change in the
Yeah.
future.
And especially the fact that the two people can have different opinion, and that's okay. Both people to, are not necessarily right, especially in like
Absolutely.
the social media generation now, where like everybody apparently is either you're for or against me or the group people grouping into these things. So I guess if we learn more about these things, we might find more neutral perspectives on each of these topics.
Absolutely. I hope, sometimes in social media, the
Hmm.
age of social media, nuance is lost.
Hmm.
Like you said, it's really you're with me or you're not.
Hmm.
Everything seems to be black and white. If there's an outrage in Twitter, it everyone kind of dogpiles, and everything snowballs overnight sometimes.
Hmm.
And that's difficult because a lot of these topics are sensitive, and they require a lot of back and forth, and both parties to be understanding.
Hmm.
But I mean, we can always be hopeful.
Hmm. And people just don't seem to have the time to put in the effort to hear the other side. Anyways, I'm hearing your side right now. And we move on to the fourth question, which is what is that something that you regularly do that people might not necessarily understand? I mean, sometimes you may not even yourself understand, but you keep on doing it. So, is there something that you do like that?
I thought about it a lot.
Hmm.
I really can't think of anything like that. And maybe you know something better
Hmm.
than me because you've known me for so long. You might pick out some quirks in my habit that
Hmm.
I could probably explain right now. But I was actually thinking about it, and I don't really think I do anything that I think is different or
Hmm.
irregular or anything like that.
Hmm.
That being said, too, I probably also look at it in the sense of I find it very difficult to describe a habit these days as
Hmm.
abnormal or irregular.
Hmm.
I always tend to think that, to that particular person,
Hmm.
I don't know their story. They
Hmm.
they've grown up in a particular way. They've had a particular set of superstitions, maybe a particular
Hmm.
set of beliefs that leads them to believe whatever they are doing is,
Hmm.
you know, is the right way to do things, and so on
Hmm.
and so forth. That's kind of how I look at things. It's always difficult for me to find something like that.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe you can help me out here.
No, no, no. I mean, yeah, but it's also not outward, but morely inward. You feel like, I mean, you do this. I mean, nobody's asking you to justify your behavior, but you yourself sometimes feel like it's kind of difficult to describe to other people why I'm doing this, but I keep doing it nonetheless. An example, you know that I run a football fantasy league
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
among
yeah.
our group. I've been doing,
That I'm the last in, by the way.
yeah, yeah, because you don't put any effort, boy. But anyways, the thing is, I run two football fantasy leagues, one for my cousins and one for you guys. And this is the second year that I'm doing, and it's a weekly thing. It's a weekly exercise, and sometimes I feel like, why am I doing this? I sometimes feel compelled to do this. In the beginning, it was like it was fun, but sometimes it's not so fun because I have other things going on, but I have to do this as well. So I just keep doing it. And people might not
That's
understand.
true.
Sometimes even I do not understand why I do it, but I
That's
just do
true.
it.
Year after year as well. How many
Hmm.
years has it been?
It's just the second year, but
Okay.
week after week.
Week after week, yeah.
Hmm.
You have that spreadsheet where you keep up
Hmm.
like the tally of our particular league and our particular league rules.
Hmm.
But again, I mean, that's been helpful just for us, all of our friends who live in 4 different countries,
Hmm.
keeping in touch even, like just every week having something to look forward to. I think that's awesome. And
Hmm.
again, I think there's some kind of problem in it because I always seem to lose. But that's my problem.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's the reason why I do it, just to keep us engaged as well. But sometimes I have to like ask, like tell myself as well, why am I doing this? So is there something that you do like that, like constantly? But
Maybe I can kind of point to my habit of, kind of, again, I go back to my passion of making music.
hmm.
I don't do it professionally. I'm not earning any money out of it.
Hmm.
The last time I was in a band was in high school, which is almost 11 years ago.
Hmm.
But even now, I don't pretend to do it every day, but at least once a week, I um, get on my laptop and I record some music.
Hmm.
And this is music that people may not even hear ever,
Hmm.
but I keep doing. And people will say, well, do something else, go outside, you know,
Hmm.
like go get some sunlight, do something, go
Hmm.
travel, blah blah blah. I enjoy what I do.
Hmm.
I enjoy making music. I enjoy, even if it's a tedious process,
Hmm.
it's something that has always spoken to me.
Hmm.
And I think that's really it. Like you said, it's something I never have had the need to explain to anyone why I do
Hmm.
this, because I know inside why I do it,
Hmm.
and what it does for me.
Hmm.
So that's something that has stuck with me for the last 10 years.
Hmm.
And I've, when I was in my band in high school, I never did all of that, but I had a friend kind of record some stuff for me.
Hmm.
And I had a fascination back then.
Hmm.
Later on, when I was in the States and I was in college, I was living in a house with a group of guys, a couple
Hmm.
of whom were actual musical producers.
Hmm.
Living with them, seeing their process every day made me take that next step.
Hmm.
And now I kind of do it in my own time and my own pace. And I have some stuff that's out, some stuff that's not. But I find that is something that, in my friend group, I don't know anyone else who is doing it.
Hmm.
But I've been doing it for many years now, and I will do it for the foreseeable future because,
Hmm.
uh, you know, I enjoy it.
Yeah. And seeing you do it is kind of inspirational as well, and I admire it a lot. You working on your music, putting it out, and keep on doing it. And I think one of the reasons why I do 10 questions with is also partly seeing you doing something that you really are passionate about and care about a lot, and regularly putting in the time and effort to put something out there of your own. So thank you for the inspiration.
My pleasure, man. I would love to see how all of this goes and like all of the content you will produce in the future.
Yeah, that's for the next time or for the future, but I'm just happy making these recordings and just talking to people I know and care about. All right, the final question of the first five is that, okay, looking forward, what are some of the things that you would like to achieve or the goals that you have for the next 3 to 5 years, let's say?
Well, you always have to have your professional goals,
Hmm.
I guess. would obviously like to continue what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
Um, get permanent residency through them. And
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
been
Mhm.
living in the States almost 10 years at this point, and it's a very long process. It's a drawn out process. Some people, don't get to take it to that level,
Mhm.
um, for whatever reasons, in their control, out of their control. I'm
Mhm.
at a point where, it's coming along, so I'm happy to see that through. Um, I would like to do some more exploration, just actually seeing new places,
Mhm.
whether it's in the States or in Nepal. I've
Mhm.
always found it kind of sad that, you know, I'm from such a beautiful country and I haven't really gotten to see too much.
Mhm.
I grew up in Kathmandu. Most of my family is basically all of my family is based in Kathmandu. So I never had the opportunity like a lot of some of our friends had,
Mhm.
which during Dasai and Tiar, you could go out of the
Mhm.
valley to your family and stuff like that. I've never had that opportunity.
Mhm.
I've been to a couple of um, cities like Pokhara and stuff like that, but I would like to go, somewhere really remote and scenic
Mhm.
and do something like that, especially in this. And again, on the other side of the coin, in the States as well. I've lived and worked in a few different states now, but such a vast country,
Mhm.
you really get an appreciation of it only after you live there. And there's so much to see, so much to do. In a sense, I feel like, the age of social media and all those kinds of things, a lot of people can kind of have that feeling of, oh yeah, I can see it,
Mhm.
someone else going there, so I've already seen what there is to see. And
Mhm.
that's true to a certain extent, but seeing it by
That's-
yourself
mhm.
live, taking your own opportunity to see all of that, it's definitely something I would like to do. um, get more into my art. I've spoken about my music,
Mhm.
but I've been an artist since I was a very young kid. I used to
Mhm.
draw. I've gotten off of that. I found myself as I've grown up changing my medium of art, but that's all. I take it positively in the sense of it's added more depth to my
Mhm.
artistic ability. So I would like to, explore more and more of those and go back to some of my
Mhm.
older habits and all those kinds of things. And I guess most importantly, look after my health. You know,
Mhm.
that's really turning, getting closer to 30 and all those kinds of things. All
Aren't we
these
all?
aren't we all these things start coming in. So yeah, yeah, I mean, if I'm 5 years later and I'm healthy, then I guess
You're
that's all I
happy.
can ask for.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but I remember तैँले digital art पनि start गरेको थिइस् हैन a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I bought a tablet, Samsung tablet,
Mhm.
and I tried to do it. I found myself not being as into digital art as I would be if it was just pen and paper.
Mhm.
um, Maybe if I had better equipment,
Mhm.
but I found the dimensions of a tablet and like moving it around and drawing, it wasn't for me.
Ah, okay.
um, yeah, I could create pretty basic art. I could create art, but
Mhm.
the process wasn't as satisfying. And
Mhm.
after I made one or two digital drawings and a third
Mhm.
digital drawing, I didn't find myself yearning to make that fourth, fifth, and sixth, and that's kind of how it went.
Okay. And just coming back to the traveling bit, I think you also kind of left the country in that critical एकदम travel गर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ you went to the States, I think. ठ्याक्क bachelor's गएपछि when we had that little bit more of freedom to go out with like friends and stuff like that, and you had to move to the US. US जाँदा पनि like you had a lot of responsibilities to take care of yourself. But yeah, I think I would say in the next 5 years, travel Gauri's money to have that goal to travel. I think it's very nicely transitions into that idea. Now that you're more settled, and maybe your travels will bring you to Europe and Berlin, and maybe we can hang out. So
Yes, I would
some
like that.
something to really look forward to in the next 3 to 5 years.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So we're at the end of the first five. So कस्तो लागिरहेछ त अक्षय?
Am I passing the interview so far?
No, as I told you, there is no pass, no fail, no right or wrong. It's just a conversation between two friends, and just that I am enjoying it. I'm having fun,
I'm enjoying it too.
as
Yeah, no, absolutely.
as I always do when I'm talking to you, and hope you're feeling the same way.
Likewise.
And yeah,
Likewise. 100% always.
So I hope you're excited for the last five as well.
I'm nervous. I don't know what they are.
Nah, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be the same
Okay.
vibes. I thought.
Okay. Hit me. Hit me.
Okay, the first question is okay. Now, funny we talk about travel. You mentioned travel in your next 3 to 5 years, but and the first question is if there weren't any travel or financial restrictions, what would be your dream travel destination?
Ooh, no financial, nothing.
Nothing.
Y- You know, again, I'm a nerd. I'm a history nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost map out a particular route. I
Mm-hmm.
can't really say one city,
Okay.
but I have a particular set of things that I would like to see.
Okay.
I would like to see some of the really old, famous cities from antiquity. So places like Rome,
Mm-hmm.
places like, things that kind of grew up from the Roman Empire. So
Okay.
locations in Greece, locations in Rome, and even going before that, I'd like to see the pyramids
Mm-hmm.
and the Sphinx.
Mm-hmm.
Those are so famous, and it's almost, even as a kid, of these places because they're
Mm-hmm.
like World Heritage sites. But again, they're World Heritage sites for a reason. I'd like
Mm-hmm.
to go see those kinds of things. I would like to. I would actually like to do a, transatlantic travel
Mm-hmm.
by sea.
Wow.
We've, this day and age, I've actually done the transatlantic travel many times, but it's
By
it's
air.
through by air, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and most of the times you're falling asleep, or you're looking at a
Mm-hmm.
digital display that's showing you over Edinburgh or over Stockholm or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you went to Edinburgh or Stockholm. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the sea, and I know it's not for everyone, seasickness and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot and all that kind of stuff, I find that concept very romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like an explorer going to find the new world and stuff like that.
Like the
You're in the middle of,
Titanic hitting the iceberg.
not like the
Head
Titanic. Not like the Titanic. I wouldn't want to go on that trip.
uh-huh.
um but there's something about, I know I'm not seeing everything every day. In fact, a lot of days we would just be in the middle of this huge giant ocean and
Mm-hmm.
probably very scared and all those kinds of things. But I think that's something, we take for granted these days.
Mm-hmm.
The vastness and the richness of all of that. Um, where else? There's so many places. Again, I go back to some of the really famous World Heritage sites. Some old Japanese castles, especially
Mm-hmm.
from their feudal period. I find
Mm-hmm.
that part of, their history very, very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, there's so many beautiful places, castles that are dotted with fantastic, forests and gardens all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at that point, it wouldn't just be money and, time that I had, but also a knowledge of that second language,
Mm-hmm.
being the ability to be able to immerse myself with the locals and kind of look at it from their perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope we can do that in our lifetime, because technology nowadays is amazing. You can point your phone at some signs and it auto
Translated.
translates it right
Mm-hmm.
away. I mean, that kind of stuff is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, where wouldn't I like to go if I had the choice?
Yeah, I mean that's a great answer. I mean, such a theme rooted in travel, rooted in a theme of discovering history, seeing things that have been there for thousands of years, but you still haven't had the chance to see them, man. That's a really great answer. And do you know if there are any transatlantic sea voyages and how long they take?
I believe, I don't know one particular one, but
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that the earlier transatlantic voyages took, didn't they take like up to 2 months or something like that?
I'm not sure.
In in today's day and age, with like steam engines and all those kinds of things, that
Hmm.
time is drastically cut.
Hmm.
So it wouldn't take us 2 months. But back in the day, you were talking about, sort of like the sails catching like the wind,
Hmm.
coming back and forth, and all those kinds of things.
Hmm.
You're talking about a lack of supplies. You're talking about scurvy. I mean, it's a scary thought.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't like all of that. So
Hey,
I'd like the old journey with the new amenities, please.
a very, very comfortable cruise.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
With hopefully with some Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you'll get to hit at least a few of those destinations in the next year or two. And I'm
I hope
looking
so.
forward to your stories as well. Alkati
Yeah.
Bhavine, second-hand proxy experience paunu ko lai.
I'll be like Ayush, the whole trip down was awful. I was dry heaving the whole time. I hope it isn't that kind of trip.
Uh,
I think I'm okay with water, but I've never been on a boat or like a proper cruise, so who knows?
I think, I mean, त्यतिकै हेर्दा त I think I'm fine as well. तर मलाई
Yeah.
चाहिँ डर लाग्छ जस्तो लाग्छ. I don't know. I like the idea of a cruise, but I don't like it's at least 3 देखि 4 दिनसम्म or maximum 1 week maybe I'll be able to do it. But anything longer than that, I think I'll get cabin sickness or something like that.
Yeah. I think we don't appreciate that, like that time scale,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have to do that kind of travel.
त्यही त.
Yeah.
Well, off to a good start in the last five. Okay, second question, Aita.
All right.
What is that? What is the most embarrassing memory that you can share with us here today?
Oh, I think the thing about embarrassing memories is you push them down. um, Probably something from school, probably something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to think of one.
No, take your
You
time.
probably, yeah, no, you probably remember some from me. Oh well, I remember one, but I'll let you think of one if you can think of me,
No, no,
and then I'll kind of.
I'm not gonna say embarrassing or anything, but it's your answer. But for me, कस्तो हुन्छ भने, like you said, you kind of want to suppress these memories, but I have
Yeah,
instances when they just keep coming out randomly. काम गरेर आउँछ अनि दिमागमा आउँछ and like cringing on my own.
you'll be sleeping and you'll wake up like, ah, you know. I do remember one now,
Mhm.
and it's actually not even a childhood memory. It's something I don't like talking about, but my mom and my brother love talking about.
Okay, I think I already know where you're getting at. Okay.
Yes, I think you probably do. So my brother got married a few years ago,
Hmm.
and let me just set up the stage a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, I was obviously, taking 2 or 3 weeks off from work in the US, coming back for his wedding. And so
Hmm.
I would be running around the house trying to help wherever I can. In this particular day, I was up probably pretty early, running
Hmm.
around the house, doing this, doing that, not eating too much.
Hmm.
And I fainted. I fainted in the middle of a major ceremony for his wedding.
Hmm.
And it, I felt it coming.
Hmm.
What triggered it was I slightly twisted my ankle as I was walking
Hmm.
down this kind of bricky road, loose
Hmm.
bricks here and there kind of thing. I twisted my ankle, and I don't know if that did anything, but in my mind, that's what triggered it because
Hmm.
immediately after that, I started feeling the sensation go up my body
Nauseousness.
where yeah, this nauseousness, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm feeling nauseous. It was like almost immediate. Like I felt like a wave come up my body,
Hmm.
and I was standing next to someone, and in fact, my brother was just 2 or 3 feet away from me. So he's
Hmm.
the groom, so he's the center of attraction. So everyone's kind of looking this way.
Hmm.
I turned to someone next to me and kind of say, "Hey, can you grab me a chair? I feel like I'm about to faint."
Hmm.
And they were just saying, "Huh, huh, huh. What do you mean?" And by then I was gone.
Yeah.
I have glimpses of being moved
Hmm.
to an inside room,
Hmm.
and I came around, I think, after 10 or 15 minutes, and
Hmm.
then the room was full of people,
Hmm.
and everyone was like, oh my god, what's going on and everything. I got better relatively quick,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
my brother will not let me live this down ever.
It's a fun story. I mean, it must have felt horrible back then, maybe still does now, but it's a fun story. And I'm sorry, but I'm always very excited to hear the story. I've heard it maybe 2 or 3 times by now, but thank you for sharing it on 10 Questions with.
Yeah, I don't think anything's gonna top that, so might as well put it out there.
I think, yeah, if I had an award to give away, maybe this one would get it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, just to share another embarrassing story as well. मैले तँलाई भनिसकेँ होला. But मैले पनि, I think it was maybe the first time ever I had given blood. I know. I was going to give blood for the first time अनि मेरै community को मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ टोलको मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ blood donation camp set up गराएको थियो and it was in this local nursery school अनि गयो अनि like they always do I don't know if they always do that तर खानको लागि अलिकति खाना थियो जुस थियो अन्डा सन्डाहरू थियो before you give the blood so apparently there's more blood in your body I don't know
Yeah.
अनि खायो अन्डा सन्डा खायो अनि I think I don't know if I had breakfast but अन्डा खाइसकेपछि the oozy feeling भइसकेको थियो कि त्यो उलुक्क हुने
Oh,
खालको feeling भइसकेको थियो and I give the blood दिँदा दिँदा the blood gets taken out of me all fine and
are
apparently
you good with needles? Did that also affect you?
I'm okay with needles, but the thing that happens, I think I've given it 2 or 3 times blood, but मैले notice गरेको कुरा चाहिँ के हो भने the bag doesn't fucking fill up fast enough. It takes
Okay,
a lot of time to fill it, and I think that's what build up in me. अरू मान्छेहरू चाहिँ दिएर पनि उठेर पनि गइसक्यो कि अनि मेरो
right.
चाहिँ भर्दै भर्दैन and I'm there I'm feeling it a little bit and they finally take it out they say like यस योबाट धेरै रगत आउँदैन यसलाई यति गरौँ अनि they
This
stop me
guy's given enough.
enough अनि I get off अनि त्यो भन्छ नि मान्छेहरूले ब्लड दिन गयो अनि उल्टै आफै त्यसलाई ब्लड चढाउनु पर्यो भनेर I was one of those guys I just fainted
Oh,
right over there and they took me inside and I can really relate to what you said about you have glimpses of people carrying you away
oh man.
I also have glimpses of people taking me to the other room and like I was like this give him space
How long were you out? Do you remember?
I don't know if it was 10 minutes or something, but I think it was very short, like maybe 1 or 2 minutes. But yeah, so
So you're telling me you went to give blood donation and you ended up taking more than you gave.
yeah, they were this close to giving me the blood that they're taking away from me. So they,
Ayush, Ayush, Ayush.
yeah. And
That's great.
the weird thing is the second time as well. I know I was giving blood with my cousin, and my cousin is a big guy, big healthy guy, you know, and we put the damn needle in at the same time. त्यसको भरेर पनि it's like about to explode कि it's like a fucking right
Yeah,
apple it's like
yeah.
bulging मेरो चाहिँ भर्दै भर्दैन कि there's
No.
just something wrong with my blood flow man त्यति बेला चाहिँ थाहा भयो and I don't think I've given blood ever since there
Wow. That's crazy. I've never given blood, but I'll keep all of these things in mind.
you shouldn't you shouldn't
I probably shouldn't. Yeah, I've got a history. Yeah,
yeah
just fainting. I think you have another, memory of me fainting on you. So like,
yeah
when we were returning from school that one day. So yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. I should take that advice.
yeah this segment should be called when was the last time you fainted
Yeah,
which
exactly.
yes stories.
Yeah, wow.
Okay. Again, anyways, thank you, Akshay, for sharing that embarrassing moment with us. And the third question, Haita, for the last five.
All right.
Okay. When was the last time you really changed your mind about something? Probably a medium to serious decision that you were heading towards, but for some reason you went the other direction or changed it.
I'll have to think about that for a second because nothing major comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also pretty comfortable in saying
Mm-hmm.
that I'm happy to have my mind changed. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not one of those people who comes into a conversation adamant that I am correct, that
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to put my point across and
Mm-hmm.
it's my way or the highway. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like thinking like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if I have something that I am debating,
Mm-hmm.
I in my mind will probably already have weighed the pros and cons and will have
Mm-hmm.
come to that conclusion to a certain degree with some prior context. Um, but I think that's a skill in itself
Mm-hmm.
to 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 have to be able to put yourself in a position where um, you allow yourself to listen to other points of conversation and change your mind based on it,
Mm-hmm.
change your mind
Mm-hmm.
based on new information you get,
Mm-hmm.
change your mind based on understanding that certain things you thought in the past may
Mm-hmm.
have been wrong or may have been correct at the time but
Mm-hmm.
isn't the same anymore. um, Yeah, I can't think of anything major at this moment.
Well, I think I might have phrased this question a little bit wrongly as well. I just coming to realize, but it's not something that changed your mind. It's you changed your mind about a particular decision, or maybe I guess a perspective also counts, but a decision in life or something that you were doing that you kind of
Okay.
track back on a little bit.
Okay, I don't know if it's one thing, but I
Hmm.
guess I've started to make myself probably do a few more things more spontaneously.
Okay.
Uh, Back in the day, as I was younger, I think I was always very nervous and very careful,
Hmm.
and always, always deciding on I have to have all of my, is the expression ducks in a row or eggs in a row, one of those expressions. I
Hmm.
need to know everything before I
Hmm.
make a decision. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I found myself probably making some major decisions kind of in the spur of the moment, not
Hmm.
necessarily going into it blind or anything like that.
Hmm.
But a particular example would be like planning my Nepal trips. The
Hmm.
first couple of times when I started living in the States and I was coming back, and probably also because it was when I was in college and
Hmm.
I had to like look at all those things. I would buy my tickets 7 or 8 months in advance.
Hmm.
I would book those dates in my calendar well in advance, and just make sure everything leading up to that point was perfect. The
Hmm.
last couple of times I've come to Nepal, I came to the decision the month before I actually flew to Nepal,
Hmm.
and I would tell my family here that, oh, I'm actually coming over,
Hmm.
and they probably thought the same thing too because they've known me for a long time and they know I like to take my time with these decisions.
Hmm.
And especially during the time of coronavirus, traveling is
Hmm.
always a little bit of a risk, and so they would kind
Hmm.
of be like, oh, are you sure it's a good idea to come and everything like that. But
Hmm.
the last couple of times I've come here,
Hmm.
things that have happened and all those kinds of things, I have no regrets that I made those decisions
Hmm.
quick, and I'm actually glad that I did. And even with the pandemic, old me would have said, oh man, I don't know if this trip is a good idea.
Hmm.
It's probably best to stay here, it's probably best to be where I am. That's how
Hmm.
you need to be. Those are the recommendations, those are the guidelines. But
Hmm.
you know just me going up, waking up one day and being like, oh yeah, next month I'm going to go to Nepal, I'm going to get my
Hmm.
tickets right away, and kind of get my tickets first and then let everyone else know.
Hmm.
It's worked out really well. It's not always going to work out really well. It's not always the best idea to do everything in life spontaneously, but I
Hmm.
think starting to do that from time to time has been
Hmm.
something that has changed in the last couple of years, 2 or 3
Hmm.
years, and so far I have no regrets about it.
Hmm. So taking more spontaneous decisions. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember Tony Nepal dance भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ it kind of came as a surprise as well when you like announced it us to the group as well.
Yeah, no, it was we had a friend's wedding and all those kinds of things, and honestly those were just, at that point I was just starting to look for excuses to
Hmm.
come to Nepal.
Hmm.
The real reason that I bought those Nepal tickets was because I just wanted to come to Nepal.
Hmm.
And once I made the decision, it was almost like, oh, and
Hmm.
actually I can justify it with this and that.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
even this time, I think जुन त अहिले नेपालमा छस् in this Nepal trip also like came out of very spontaneous जस्तो लागिरहेछ मलाई, right?
To a certain degree, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I wanted to come back, visit my family and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. But this is a longer stay that I've done. Each of my trips,
Hmm.
past few trips have been under a month. This
Hmm.
time I've you know I have thankfully been able to work, which is why also I've been able to take 2 months off,
Hmm.
um, as in to come over here. And yeah, it was pretty spontaneous for the most part, but I've really enjoyed it,
Okay.
and I'm enjoying it so far.
Okay. Mm, taking more spontaneous decisions in life then. Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Almost at the end of 10 questions with, we have only two questions remaining.
All
And
right,
this, the penultimate question is, what is that thing that you are very grateful for?
man, I'm grateful for so many things. I'm
Hmm.
grateful for what my parents taught me.
Hmm.
Um, since a very young age, they've kind of given me love. They've given me support. They've given me a good foundation to, I think, become a well-rounded individual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful for the friends that I have, and again, I count
Mm-hmm.
myself extremely lucky there to have someone like you, and some of our other friends that I met really early on in life.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Singapore for from 99 to 2001, and 2001 I joined DAV, and the
Mm-hmm.
first day of DAV I met you, and I met one of our other friends who we still know to this day. And then in the first week, we had already met a couple of other guys that we still, you know, are very
Mm-hmm.
close friends with.
And that group was
Uh,
set in stone.
And that group is set in stone. Not a lot of people can say that, and it is, since that was just my experience, I always assumed that that's just what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But then the older I've gotten and the more, I see other people's situations and all those kinds of things, I do think, wow, that was a slice of luck. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
I do think it wasn't just, oh, we met good friends, and like we met each other, and I think we were all obviously from very similar backgrounds, but we all kind of have similar values, similar interests, similar hobbies. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that is probably because we grew up together and we molded each other's
Mm-hmm.
hobbies and all those kind of things. But man, yeah, I yes, that is something that I am extremely thankful for.
Yeah, and I'm thankful to have you as a great friend, a great support system, a great member in my support system as well. And I think I told you, Madan, I've been asking the call that we had, Panagate, is like, for I don't know about you, but for me, I feel like I tend to gravitate to very similar minded people with similar values. But Tanyawan, as to maybe we shaped each other's values as well growing up. That oily pani, uh, the people I'm close to, the people in my friend circles, are pretty much have the same values that we had growing up. And I think Tanyawan, as to you, our parents kind of mold us to who we are. Our friends mold us to who we are, and yeah, I think, not boasting our own horns, but we've turned out to be Taliban as just a very well-rounded individuals. And it's down
I would
to,
hope so. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, down to our parents, down to our friends, and yeah, very lucky to have that. And like you said, not
absolutely.
not everybody has it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm thankful for many, many things, but
Hmm.
that is without a doubt. The older I get, the more I realize, wow, yeah, I
Hmm.
got lucky there. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. True.
yeah.
Okay. Very grateful for that. And the final question. And now
Ooh,
this is something I would say is that it's up to you. You can choose to answer it however you want to. You don't have
okay,
to say the most this experience, but you can kind of say whatever you want to. But if you feel like I don't want to talk about this, that's completely fine as well. By the way, this is the same question I ask everybody. All right.
okay.
Now, Akshay, tell me something that you recently struggled with and hopefully overcame.
Mm, so pretty, you know, I think there's a lot of things that you struggle with on a day-to-day basis,
Hmm.
professionally, personally. Um, yeah, like everyone probably has all those things that, you know, from today to tomorrow they may be able to solve, and it's a day-to-day kind of small issue. Issues to each of their own. Some people may have big issues,
Hmm.
some people may have small. um Recently, I've been dealing with, and this to a certain degree, I've been
Hmm.
dealing with a personal loss in the
Hmm.
family, which was very, very difficult.
Hmm.
um I was unable to be in the country when it happened,
Hmm.
due to various reasons, and now I'm here, and even now we're dealing with it. It's still relatively recent.
Hmm.
um it I don't think anything in life prepares you for something like this.
Hmm.
But again, I think it's always down to how you grow up, how you perceive life, um how your support system, how good your support system is, I guess, how the people that are close to you are there for you and all those
Mhm.
kinds of things. um, I'm still dealing with certain things that come from
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
but I found that, you know, once you're in it, there's so many thoughts that come to your mind and so
Mhm.
many things, difficult questions come through. um, I think you have to take it positively, and I
Mhm.
think that's something else my family has taught me, and we're all taking it, trying to take it to the
Mhm.
best way we can, keeping the good memories,
Mhm.
remembering the great lessons,
Mhm.
and you know, remembering that this is life, this happens to everyone.
Mhm.
It happened to us early on, it happened to us in a, you know, unexpected way, but you have to take it as it comes,
Mhm.
and you know, try to live, and you know, yeah, understand that life goes on, and you know, you can't
Mhm.
just stop when something major like that happens.
Mhm.
You have to take that, and you have to let that experience show you that, yeah, you know, even in the most difficult moments, you have people around you that are willing to help you. um, you yourself have an obligation to help those people as well. You know,
Mhm.
everyone needs to come together. Not everyone can have the same support system, and in that
Mhm.
sense too, I guess I can count myself lucky as well that I have
Mhm.
great friends and family around me. um, yeah, I mean, that was probably something that, again, I don't know that I can really explain to
Mhm.
someone who's never gone through it.
Mhm.
And to people that have gone through it, I don't think there are too many words necessary, because
Mhm.
they'll kind of understand
Understand.
it, but
Mhm.
everyone deals with it in a different way.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's been something that, again, you kind of deal with it, you take it day to day.
Mhm.
And yeah, you let that, you can let it bring you down, but you can also, you know, try to make yourself stronger through it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's whatever happened. It's not something that I can imagine what you are going through, what you and your family are going through. But what I am very glad to hear about is that you have that support system, that the family is coming together, and you are, like you said, your parents helped you become a very well-rounded individual with a lot of great support system, and that is now you're using that and you're helping each other. And like, yeah, every day ups and downs, I'm sure there might be, but every day you're taking it on the chin and moving forward and keeping your head higher.
Yeah, absolutely, that's what you have to do. And
Hmm.
you know, some days are more difficult than others, but
Hmm.
that's life in general, you
Hmm.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Akshay, with that, we're at the end of 10 questions with. So at the end, Kostalaira, how was your whole experience overall?
It was good. It
Hmm.
was good. It's always fantastic talking to you,
Hmm.
Ayush. You know,
You, by the
um,
way, you can say if there was something wrong as well. I'll just edit it out, but for me, it will be good feedback. So if anything was wrong, you can just tell me.
I don't know. I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to look at the finished product, and I'll
Okay.
probably even maybe think, hey, you know what? Questions 1 through 10, I didn't like any of them. Can we try again?
Okay.
So far, I've had a good time. I think, especially
Hmm.
with you, whenever we're hanging out,
Hmm.
conversations are never difficult. I think
Hmm.
we know each other so well at this point that it's like
Hmm.
we could be talking about anything and it could probably be entertaining, at least to the both of us. I don't really
Hmm.
care if anyone else is not entertained or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in that sense, I've had a
Hmm.
great time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't care if this whole conversation hits even 10 views or listens or whatever. It's just a moment in time where we capture a conversation and hopefully we'll look back onto it and maybe have even more of these in the future. So that's all that matters to me as well.
Yeah, I would like to have a conversation after Liverpool beat Chelsea next week,
Ah,
and
fuck.
win the and win the trophy. So
I will only have that
I'm looking
conversation.
forward to part two.
I'm only having that conversation if Chelsea win. I'm just telling it right now.
Then we won't be having that conversation. I'm sorry.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
Uh,
By the way, obviously red and blue.
Red and
It's
blue.
it's
We
it's
actually
it's
planned it.
it's
Yeah.
clear. Yeah, it's very clear what's going on.
Allegiances have been drawn already.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so before we say goodbye, is there any last words you would like to leave us with?
Um, it's always a great time to have a conversation with you, Ayush.
Hmm.
And I would like to hear some of the other conversations you have with other people, and maybe
Hmm.
come back for another conversation. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it was lovely having you. It was my pleasure, and I think you were, I think one of the, if not the first person I jotted down to have on 10 questions with. And I'm very, it kind of, it's a very kind of fulfilling for me as well to have done this because it started after a conversation with you and having done this with you. It comes a little bit of full circle for me. And yeah, thank you for this, for your time. Haita.
No
Bye.
problem, my friend.